Welcome everyone to Dbacks Dispatch. We have a quad box today. We are joined by a close friend of mine, Chris Garcia, who is, as you can see, is a Padres fan. So he will give the. I know Brett likes to joke with me on it, saying that I like the Padres more than the Diamondbacks. Not true. Not true. He says I'm not as critical about them as I am with other teams. That is not true, Brett. So we'll get the whole side from Chris. Yeah, this series was something. I don't like where to begin. So game one was not fun. If you are a Diamondback, if you're a Padres fan, you're loving it. Dylan Cease has been really, really good. Like that trade is looking more and more like godsend. Like one thing Chris and I Chris would joke about is Blake Snell. You wouldn't get anything till June 1st. Like he wouldn't be someone you could use. Like you couldn't rely on him because he'd give you 80 pitches through 3 and just completely tax your bullpen. And we all know how Gabe feels about Blake Snell. How he's Mr. on 1 year, off the other year, and it's looking like this year is an off year. So that's good for everyone here because he's on the Giants. So that benefits all parties involved here. If this is your first time on Dbacks Dispatch, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. Chris, why don't we start with you from game one? What was your big takeaway from the Padres side?
I mean, it felt like they had life invigorated with them. Like it's funny because I felt like we won twice on Friday because the Arise news dropped like 2 hours before first pitch. So we find out we've made this trade for a piece that we absolutely need, which is a designated hitter, an extra bat, and didn't really give up all that much in return. And then finding out that the Mariners are also going to pick up most of Arise's contract, like that's huge for us on the books when it comes to eventually looking at a starting pitcher at the deadline, because obviously getting Dylan Cease was huge. This guy has been absolutely nails for us. He's looking like the solid like 1 or even 2 like for our rotation right now, especially with Joe with his injury right now and not really knowing what the future is there on that. So it was really great to see him have a solid outing. He struggled against the Phillies, but I mean our entire team struggled against the Phillies last weekend, got swept. So it's been a very up and down season, but seeing the team hit well in game one and coming into Arizona, a place that they've notoriously struggled. Like the Padres have always had trouble with the Diamondbacks for one reason or another, especially at Chase. But it was really good to see them come out and really get that fire going. I mean, I can't say enough things about Jerickson Profar right now. Like that guy has been a godsend this year. We all just sat there and went, oh God, this is going to be our opening day left fielder. And he's proved a lot of people wrong this year. So it was just great to see basically everyone hit to start this series and get a good win.
Yeah. When he was coming into this series, he was 16 for his last 32. So if you're good at math, y'all know what that is. It's 500, y'all. And he had a good series. Like he had a really good series. And yeah, like that was the thing at the beginning. I was like, that's their starting left fielder. Oh my Lord. But when he puts on that Padres uniform, he's a different player. He was the starting first baseman and the team's only ever no-hitter. He was the first baseman. So he has that, I don't know what special juju, special sauce. I don't know.
It's the vibes. That's what he brings to the team is the vibes.
Gotcha. Yes. I was like, what's the word to use here? All right. Now, as far from the Diamondback side, we had something that all three of us here hate to see, and that's Pavin Smith just playing at all. He was in the leadoff position in game one. He goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout. The thing that threw me off, and I don't know if the Padres batters picked up something the first time through the lineup, but when they were the second time there in the fourth, they lit him up. So I don't know if if they had a game plan of, all right, we're just going to see what he has that first time through, maybe they picked up on something, or he was tipping his pitches because he got lit up there in the fourth. Like, he looked dominant innings 1 through 3. So, Gabe, what were your thoughts on how Slade Ciccone looked that second time through?
Yeah, it was just such a crazy situation because he was like cruising. I mean, he had a perfect game up until that point. 3 up, 3 down, completely dominant, and then just the wheels completely fell off. So, I mean, on the broadcast, they mentioned maybe that he was tipping, which I would agree. He is young enough, and a lot of guys only come up from Reno. It does take a while to get enough, real game footage in the majors from them to see certain tells. And I think maybe at some point the Padres saw something. We're waiting to see that little tick that he does, and I don't know what it is. I'd have to go back and review the tape, I guess, and see if there's anything different that he did. And the thing is, sometimes to us it's imperceptible. Like, we can't see anything, but then these players have 2015 vision. Like, they have the absolute most perfect vision in the world, and so maybe even like a facial tick sometimes is all that's needed. And so yeah, it was just crazy that they just suddenly became super patient, taking their walks, and he was pitching how he normally does. They just weren't biting. They're making contact with everything in the zone. And every time you throw an off speed, it seemed like they knew. And yeah, it was just a really, really strange situation. I mean, he was able to, sort of adjust back to it. But this offense didn't help at all. And also, I think Brandon is praising the the Padres a little too much. And in this house, we only bash teams. No, I'm just joking.
Wow. So, but the fourth started with a walk to Profar, Tatis homer, Cronenworth homer, Manny walk. That was the first 4 there in the fourth. So, and the Tatis home run and the Cronenworth home run were both hard hit. So, I think it was either the two things. He's either tipping his pitches, and like each guy was like, when he sets up here, it's a fastball. When he sets low, it's off speed. Like, it could have been something as simple as that, or it was in their game plan. They weren't sure the first time through, so they just kind of watched, and then they're like, yeah, actually, that is true. And then the second time through, they made those adjustments. Brett, your thoughts on how Slade looked in this game?
Yeah, so I was trying to look at obviously, like we said before, the first 3 innings, he looked money. He was, dotting. I think he got up to like 98 miles an hour, which we just don't see that from many of our starters. So it was really good to see. He was continuing the trend that he had from his, previous 2 starts going into that. And I do agree. I think he did have at least some kind of pitch tipping, but it looked like maybe he just like went way too 4-seamer heavy. Like, I know he like, obviously it felt like he had a good control of it, with and good velocity on it, but he threw 58 fastballs in that start. Whereas the start against the Mariners, he had it kind of balanced a little more. He threw 45 fastballs and 25 sliders, 14 changeup, where he didn't even throw like 25, almost 30 other pitches combined between a slider, change, and curveball in the Friday start. So maybe it could be him tipping pitches, or maybe he just spammed the fastball too much to where, 98, especially with his other mixes, if you're mixing stuff in, the 98 can look really effective. But if you're going to that 98 too much, these are major league hitters. They're barely even fooled by like 101. Like, we see how like their bats are with Justin Martinez. So like, just 98 over and over and over isn't going to always fool them. So maybe it could have just genuinely been that inning. It fell off because he was just going too much to the same pitch, and the Padres adjusted well enough in that split second, in that second time around.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but I was not happy to see it. The other major story from this game was in the 9th inning involving Fernando Tatis Jr. and Scott McGough. Scott McGough missed a little bit because if you see, Gabby here is setting low, like high, and he just completely misses it, brushes Tatis back. Mike Schilt, after the game, had a comment that he is sick and tired of people throwing up and in to Tatis. And I'm just thinking, as a Diamondbacks fans, Christian Walker has gone through this for the last 4 seasons. And Torrey has never said anything. They're just like, he's their best player. He's their best power. So they're trying to back him off the plate. And then Mike Schilt was like, this is enough. Like, we've had enough of it. I didn't appreciate his comments. Like, he's making it seem like Tatis is the only one this happens to. Every team has that one guy that pitchers will, like, they'll aim inside and sometimes they miss. And we know McGuff doesn't have the best command. So I don't think it was on purpose. I think he just missed.
I think a little bit of his comments from Schilt could have been just him being, obviously a first-year manager, making sure his guys know that he's like, hey, like, I got your back. Like, I'm here for you. Like, I'm not going to let this go unnoticed. Like, Torrey's made some comments before. Like you said, he's never gone out and said, like, there's going to be retaliation. But I believe he's at least said a few times before, he's like, it's, getting a little tiring seeing these guys, like, hitting, Christian. But, like, I think it was just him just trying to, have his guys back, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, and with Schilt, one thing I've noticed this year especially is he seems really like a player's manager. Like, he's really out there to defend his guys. Like, there was a situation in the Red Series that we just finished where there was a catcher's interference at home, and instead of taking an automatic run, Schilt decided to load the bases, and Manny rewarded him in that situation. But he seems like a guy that's got his players back. But one thing I will say, and I love me some Tatis, but he's got a lot of soccer in him. There's a lot of those times where he gets brushed up and in, where he's on the ground, and it's like I'm waiting for somebody to come out with a yellow card because he just, like he does oversell in those situations. And yes, that was close, but his reaction didn't really warrant it. But I get where Schilt came from in that situation. He's defending his guys. Bob Melvin did not do that in San Diego last year, and that was one of the big divisive issues with that clubhouse and just that aspect. So I get why Schilt did it in this situation.
Yeah. So I think they're just doing their diligence. I mean, in the scouting report, if you look at Tatis's heat map, that area of the zone, that up and in, he's bad at it. Like, he doesn't hit it all. It's all blue in that area, and even at the lower part of it. But that's the only area you're ever going to be able to get Tatis out on. If you throw anything, anywhere near the other part of the zone, he's going to hit it and he can make contact with it. So that's kind of the only option you have at this point is up and in at him. Obviously, McGuff just isn't that good, so he's going to throw up, higher than he really means to. But I mean, we've seen it with a bunch of guys. Corbin, you throw him up and in, he's going to swing it all the time. Christian Walker, same thing too. Up and in, he's going to swing, he's going to offer at it. You're just going to miss it because it's hard to hit it up and in. So I don't think it was anything malicious. Like, I think if they were going to do something, actually malicious, they probably would have gone for Machado, just hit him in the butt, or same with Tatis. Even if it was something to, like, brush him back a little bit. Sometimes that's kind of what you have to do to get certain guys, from crowding the plate, which, like, no one complains that Anthony Rizzo, gets hit all the time. Like, he crowds the plate. What are you going to do? Like, you have to brush him off somehow.
He's like on the plate. Like, some guys, you're like, they don't make a fuss because they're like, I'm on the plate. Some guys just, they miss. So yeah, I thought that was the story there from game one. The post, I don't think anyone cares about it now. Like, it's really not that big a deal. So we move on to game two. Luis Arraez is now a San Diego Padre. And as Chris said, Marlins are basically paying his entire salary. And what does he do? He goes 4 for 4 to start the game, finishes 4 for 6. And I want to get Chris's thoughts on Tatis's comment saying he's basically the closest thing to Tony Gwynn that we have in today's game. The game had a graphic on the Diamondback side. Like, if you put side by side their first 569 games, Arraez and Gwynn, it's almost identical. It's scary. Like, it's off by like 1 or 2 points. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on basically Tatis comparing Arraez to Tony Gwynn?
It's interesting because it seems to be a very popular opinion here in San Diego, and no disrespect to Luis Arraez. Like, I think he is quality at bat. Like, he's won back-to-back batting titles. Like, the guy can hit, but I just find it very hard to like drop that type of comparison, especially just growing up with Tony Gwynn and knowing who like just his career longevity, what he did his entire career. Like it's one of those things that it doesn't rub me the wrong way per se, but it doesn't make me feel right. It's like you hear just this comparison. And we heard a lot last year when he was chasing 400. Like there was a lot of those comparisons that were made, and I understand them. It's just it feels weird, but like I get where everyone's coming from on that. The guy is amazing at the plate. He showed it in that first game there with that just incredible performance, and I'm very excited to see what he does in this lineup because I know we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but one thing this team was missing was a DH. Right now, it was Graham Pauley, it was Tyler Wade, it was all these basically like right between AAA and MLB players that we were putting in those positions, and now we're in this situation where we have another infielder. We can plug and play these guys and get guys rest, have them DH and still play. So it's a fantastic pickup, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with this lineup with the support around him. But it's just one of those things where I can't say like, yes, he's the next Tony Gwynn. Like I need to see like 5 or 10 more years before I can make that type of comparison.
Yeah. I was like, I get it. He's a pure singles hitter, which is what Tony was. Like that's the one knock on Luis Arias. People's like, he doesn't have power. He doesn't need to. His job, like he's usually batting first or second. His job is to get on base, so he's gonna get you a single. Like he will hit the ball where it's pitched. You pitch him on the outside corner, he'll slap it to left field. You pitch him inside, and he'll dunk it over the second baseman. Like he's a fantastic hitter. The final score of this game does not show how good I personally felt that Brandon Pfaadt pitched. He went 6 innings. Yeah, he gave up 10 hits. He only gave up 3 that were earned. But the bullpen, Brandon Hughes came in the 7th and just gave up 4 runs, just like that. Jarvis gave up 2, and McGuff gave up 2. So it was fairly close when Pfaadt left in the 7th. It was, what is it? Yeah, it was 3. It was 3-0. So like that final score doesn't really represent how close most of the game was. It got out of hand there in the 7th. Pfaadt's been our most consistent pitcher so far this season. I mean, he's the only one that's pretty much played all year because Montgomery missed the first couple of weeks. I wouldn't classify that Gallen missed a start necessarily. It was more of they just postponed it.
He still technically didn't miss it though.
Yeah, like it wasn't like he was scheduled and got scratched. It just
pushed back a start.
Yeah, they just gave him basically an extra pass through the rotation of rest because they were able to with off days. Like it just worked out well enough for them to do that. But this team didn't score until the 9th. It was not a very good game offensively. Gurriel, I'm starting to get a little worried. I hate how streaky he is. It drives me crazy because one game, like he'll have a stretch of like 2 or 3 weeks where he looks like he's like a top 20, 30 batter. And then he looks like he's a bot, like he's like Pavin Smith. So, Gabe, what were your thoughts on just the Diamondbacks as a whole here in Game 2 on Saturday?
Honestly, my thoughts on them this game are the same as the thoughts they've been almost this whole week, which is just that the team is kind of pathetic. Like, there's no other way to say it. But, I mean, they were outscored. I think at this point it was 28 runs to like 2 or something like that in the last 3 or 4 games. Like, they literally just, show their soft underbelly and lay over, and then they just, like, don't want to score at all. Like, this offense has been pretty bad or even just straight up pathetic. But, I mean, they get a lot of hits. That's the problem, though. It's like it's not like they're getting 2 hits. They got 8 hits in this game. They walked a few times, and obviously Brandon Pfaadt did what Brandon Pfaadt's things: 6 innings, 3 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. Like this is like I've been saying, this is our fifth starter, and he's averaging about 6 innings a game, and he has a 4.6 ERA right now. That's going to seem to go lower. Just the fact he was able to limit the damage as well with 10 hits. Um, they're just It's just so frustrating. Especially when the bullpen comes in, then they just can't even make this competitive for the team. They just come in, blow it up, and then at that point you're like, why even bother? Because you look up and it's 11-0, then 13-0 in the ninth inning, and it's like, and I want to bring this up mostly because I have some friends who went to the game on Friday when they got blown out, and up until that point, they hadn't gone since like before the pandemic to a
Oh,
baseball game. The
jeez.
first game they saw was that one. I mean, they were happy that at least with the fireworks and everything, but there was that. Then I went to the game Wednesday. Literally, by the time I sat down, the game was over. It was already 4-0, and um, this team has made it really hard to want to watch in person, and it's scary that that's happening because if they're losing games, it's fine. 1 run, 2 runs, whatever. But when they're getting blown out and this badly this early on, it's like we want fans to show up to these games. The players want the fans to show up to this game. But it's like you're not even making this watchable. This isn't fun. This isn't exciting. And it's just really bad at baseball. So, there starts to be a little bit of a lull. If they keep this up and there's a bit of a lull during the season, we see like, oh, people aren't really going to the games. Maybe that's why. It's not just that they're not playing, they're not good. And the record is still, they're 2 games behind the wild card spot, but they're not making competitive games, and it's not really worth going to and spending that money because it's expensive. I paid $45 to a Dodger game on a Wednesday. Like, that's kind of a lot of money for families. And I went with my friends, but if that's a family of 4, that's $150 that you're spending to take the family to the game. And then for them to just crap the bed like this consistently, it's really demoralizing. And I just want to say also, shout out to Oscar. He's in Japan right now. So he knows the future, so he can warn us about 9/11.
He can warn us about 9/11. Yeah, so I thought about going to this game because I'm like, I want the Gabby bobblehead. And then when they started on Friday, I'm like, I don't want to. No, I really I'm so glad I did because I would have been so pissed. It would have been the second game this week that I go to that they just lay a big fat goose egg. So, Brett, what were your overall thoughts on game 2?
So, a few things. I mean, Luis Arias, like, dude's gonna just take the role of. There's always one player on. I mean, every team has a player that's just a pest. I think we talked about it before, like Tapia for years on the Cardinals always kills us. I think for the Padres for years, Logan Forsythe was always one that would just randomly would hit like 2-run home runs. 3-run home runs against us in the most like insane, like you just be like, oh, this guy's 0 for 3 tonight with a couple ground balls, and it's like, oh, there he goes at the game tying or go ahead and home run. Good lord. And I feel like Luis Arias is just gonna turn into that dude. Like he's just every time he's in the lineup, he's gonna go like 3 for 4, 4 for 5. Like he's already a good hitter in general, but I feel like it's just gonna be against us. Like our pitchers are really good about just filling the zone, and he's a good bat to ball guy, so he's gonna feast here for years. But I actually thankfully got to see at least the good part of this game. The offense, not much to good with that. But like I talked about before, I am a slut for good pitching, and I always love watching Brandon Pfaadt. I did eventually end up having to leave and go to the Phoenix Rising game to watch that. So I didn't see how bad the game got until I got into my truck afterwards. And boy, am I glad. Because as Gabe said, it's just there's times where it was getting getting borderline pathetic. Like obviously I want to still want to go and still want to show out. I'm still going to when I get opportunities if I can, because I still love baseball, still love the team. But it does suck the expectations and the quote unquote standard that Torrey wants to say, like it's rough because that's what we're going there because of the hype. The team got only better than what they were last year. We know what they can do, and they're just underperforming. Like it was really rough to just to watch the last, like you said, the last 3 days, that Dodger game Friday and then Saturday, just getting absolutely you're getting your shit absolutely kicked in by not just an opponent, by divisional opponents, is never fun. It's just, I mean, but again, at least props to the Padres. Like they do have a really good lineup. I know you're Chris, you're saying like they always seem to have like games where they just don't play well here. For some reason, I misremember that. I remember it as, oh man, every single time they come here, they'll, even in the years when they were, the lowly Padres, like when them and the D-backs were fighting for 4th and 5th in division, they would still come here and put up like 8 runs a game. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a team that doesn't ever do that. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, heck yeah. But I mean, they got a good lineup. Like Profar is insane. He's another Diamondback killer. Tatis and Machado. Again, I don't know why guys boo Tatis every single time because he just kills us. Like, please stop. Like, just don't do it anymore.
He kills it at Chase Field, by the way.
He's insane here.
So, I mean, that's what happens when you face a divisional opponent all the time. Like, you get accustomed to playing there. So it makes sense. Like, I'm not so mad that I mean, I'm a little mad, but I'm not like, oh my God, they shit the bed. And I know you guys are going to make fun of me for this because you're going to say I'm praising the Padres, but I really feel like both teams are talent-wise very similar. Like,
no, I would agree, honestly.
Yeah. And one thing about this game, especially this game specifically, like we talked about, the bullpen is what really blew this thing open. But there was that situation in the bottom of the 5th, the 2 runners on, the full count, and King getting that massive strikeout against Blaze Alexander. I feel like that was the chance for the Diamondbacks to kind of, get back into it and get a couple runs. And I feel like if that goes a different way, because that pitch was out of the zone. So Blaze takes that. That's a walk, bases loaded. You don't know what's going to happen there. But yeah, I mean, really with Michael King, like he's once again, same story from Friday night, coming off a terrible start against the Phillies and came back and looked really solid for us, which was really important. And the reason I hate Chase Field is I was there in 2010 when the Padres lost 10 in a row to blow the NL West. And 4 of those were in Arizona, and I was there for all 4. So it's just this scarring feeling that's still in my heart.
Say really quick before we move on from, like, how you said, or we're talking about Fernando Tatis just killing it in Chase. In his career, he has now had 100 plate appearances, 90 at-bats, 32 hits, 8 homers, 8 doubles, 23 RBI, 356 average. He has a 400 on base, 711 slugging for an literally just a 1111 OPS, a 193 WRCS plus or WRC plus.
Point proven. Yeah. He loves playing here. Just one final thing. Fott had 11 swings and misses. Swing and misses.
Swings and misses. We're calling it that now, baby. Let's go.
Swing and misses. He's getting that chase on that sweeper. I wouldn't be surprised if a majority of those were on the sweeper. He still gets a lot of guys looking at his fastball. And I don't know if it's a movement thing or he's finally learned to not cover the plate so much with it, because that was his big thing last year. He was very four-seam reliant, and he would throw it all the time, and it didn't move. His four-seamer is very, very straight. It doesn't move a lot. That's why he get I want him to have more confidence in that sweeper, because I think his sweeper is his best pitch. If he can get that thing to start in the zone and then sweep right out of the zone, that is a fantastic pitch. He threw it 25 times out of 89 pitches in this start. So it was very four-seam sweeper, and then he threw a sinker quite a bit. I was not expecting it to be thrown that much. So, yeah, we've scored 2 runs in 2 games. And then we have game 3, and Ketel Marte is like, you know what? I'm going to get 2 runs right off the bat against Matt Waldron, who, by the way, people, is not a knuckleballer. He's a pitcher that throws a knuckleball. There is a difference. A knuckleballer is R.A. Dickey and Tim Wakefield. He still throws. I think they said he has a four-seamer, a cutter, and a sweeper. But it did look like he threw his sweeper quite a bit. I feel bad for the Padres catcher. He was he did not know where that ball was going there, innings 1 through 4. So yeah, the big story for me in this game, Diamondbacks realized, we can hit with runners in scoring position. The first big one is we need this man, Corbin Carroll, right here to continue to do this. He's been slowly coming out of whatever funk the man has been in this season. Like, I would say the last 10 days, he has looked really well. Like this one, like they, with runners in scoring position, I think I did the math right. I might be a little off. 6 for 13 with runners in scoring position in this game. They are never that good. Normally, it's like they're like 1 for 13. Is used, and that's one of our biggest critiques of this team is with runners in scoring position, they just don't do well. And the hardest hit ball in this game was Corbin Carroll later in the game in the 5th inning, hit a 100 and not his hit came off the bat at 109. So he had a multi-hit game. We just need him to do that consistently. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but Torrey may have made a somewhat good choice putting him down in the lineup. Because as soon as he moved him down, I personally feel he's hit a little bit better. I don't have the numbers on it. I haven't looked at what his average has been since Torrey moved him down to 7 and 8. But maybe he needs to do the same thing with Gurriel. Move Gurriel down in the lineup to 7 or 8 and see if not being in such high stress batting situations will help him. But thank goodness we actually won a game in this series. I didn't want to get sweeps. And again, this offense does what it does. It will go completely silent for 4 days, and then they're like, let's score a bunch of runs. We've said it, I think, almost on every episode the last 2 weeks. Run differential doesn't mean anything. It is a overused stat because this team's a prime example. What was it? Last week they faced St. Louis. They scored 14, and then they scored 14 cents. And they scored 11 in this game. Who knows what's going to happen against the Reds in their next series? So, Gabe, your thoughts on Game 3?
Yeah, I have quite a few thoughts about this game in general. First of all, just they saw that Pavin was batting third and they took it personally. They were like, no, we have to actually show up now because we're not getting any production from the third hole. But early on in this game, up until the 4th inning or so, with the way it was looking, they had the whole early back sting. They scored 6 runs early, but Nelson did not look good at all. He allowed 4 runs, and so coming into that 4th inning, I was like,
it's a home start. I'm just saying.
Yeah. At that point, I felt like it was one of those we've seen this movie before. He's going to get out of the game. The D-backs score early, and in the 5th inning, he gets out of the game, leaves it 5-6, and then the D-backs never score again. And meanwhile, the Padres blow up the bullpen, and this ended in a loss. It really seemed like it was heading that way. But they kept scoring and they kept scoring. They scored consistently throughout the whole game, which was really nice to see because they haven't really done that. Even in these games where they've scored, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 runs, a lot of those come in, 2 or 3 innings, and then they don't do anything in the other ones. But here they were relatively consistent throughout the game, which was nice to see. And also, I have 2 main takeaways, which is one is Corbin, just the fact that he was able to, really get some good hits today, and he had a few warning track shots, and also just the fact that even in those games where they've blown opponents out of the water, he didn't do anything in those games. He went over, and maybe a couple walks is the most that he would do, but the fact that he was able to be a contributing factor in winning these games, and with the way the offense has been, even last year too, when Corbin was slumping, the rest of the team would slump. When he would be hot, the rest of the team would be hot. We need Corbin Carroll to be Corbin Carroll. Same with Marte. We need these guys to show up because they lengthen the lineup and make it so much better when they're on. And if we're starting to see Corbin come out of his slump, hopefully we can see the D-backs come out of this slump, because 5 games under 500 this early on, it can create a problem down the line, especially because in order for them to get back to, what was it, 6 games over 500 when they went to the playoffs last year, they would have to win 12 straight games in a row in order for them to get there, which is like super hard to do, and it's not like they have an easy schedule this month. So they really need to start winning games in a row, winning series again, because they've lost 5 straight series. And also, I want to bring up the bullpen. Torrey used his ace guys, completely shut down the Padres after Nelson left the game. So, despite all the blowups that they have, when Torrey puts in his main guys, they get the job done.
The thing is Mantiply part of the A team for the bullpen? Like, I know they said that on the broadcast today. Mantiply, I don't know. Like, sometimes, like today, and his last few outings, he's looked pretty good. Wow. Okay, that kind of threw me off. Sorry. But like, I know that Thompson and Ginkel are part of the A team when it comes to the bullpen. I don't know how I feel about Mantiply. Like, if we get, all right, so you're back. Okay, so I think you froze, and that's why I didn't notice.
Yeah, my like internet just like everything froze. Like my entire Google Chrome was just like, you're not doing anything, buddy. So I had to task manager that shit away.
So yeah, like, I don't hate the idea of Mantiply being part of like the A team bullpen. It just has me worried because he does struggle from time to time. But we did get news today. Sewald most likely will be with the team when they start their next series against the Reds on Tuesday. He was seen in the clubhouse packing up. And they sent Brendan Hughes down to activate Ryan Nelson. And supposedly Sewald is not the only one that's going to be rejoining the team on Tuesday. Rumor is, depending on how Alec feels after playing DH for Reno today, he may also rejoin the team in Cincinnati. That is huge. Like, we all love Corbin. We think he's a good center fielder. He's no Alec Thomas. He is, like, he's decent because he's fast, but Alec is a better center fielder. It feels like there's no ball that he can't get.
There's no debating Alec. Like, Alec is the best defender, like in center fielder in this team, and possibly in the National League at least.
So looking at the bullpen, I don't want to say it, but Justin Martinez might get sent down for Sewald. That's my only worry. Logan Allen is somewhat of the long man, and he's done very well in each outing, so I don't think they're going to send him down. I don't see them sending down Matt Bowman because they just traded for him. So that one probably unlikely. And unfortunately, they will not send down Scott McGough. So unfortunately, it sounds like Justin Martinez has looked really good, though. That's what I'm like, come on. That fastball slider split combo that he has is just something that. And I feel like his command has been a lot better this time up. His last few outings, it doesn't feel like he's walked like 3 guys in an inning, which for us, that's a win. So, Brett, what were your thoughts on Game 3?
I mean, obviously, like you were covering, it was nice to see them actually go out there and hit the ball. Do like we've seen them earlier in the year, the early backs. Was a little bit worried seeing Ryan do Ryan Nelson at home things, and the Padres lineup, especially with 2 outs, the base hit by Bogarts, and then Jackson Merrill, which I want to say that wasn't even like a bad pitch from Ryan Nelson. That was a really good pitch that Jackson Merrill just got the hands in on and just dropped the barrel on to crush it. Like, really want to give him props on that, because that's a tough pitch to turn on, especially because Ryan Nelson has a good fastball. But it was just good to see them actually consistently, build on just not the only 4 runs they scored, to keep going, keep the foot on the pedal, not actually stop until they knew, like, yeah, this game's over. But But you're talking about seeing Mantiply in the A bullpen was a little bit, but at this point, like, what lefty do you have? Like, Saul Frank was down. Kyle Nelson's done for the year pretty much. Brandon Hughes, I believe he was a lefty, or he was a righty?
Lefty.
He was a lefty, yeah. So he got roughed up the other day. So I get it's kind of a process of elimination. He probably didn't earn being in the D-backs A bullpen, but he's going to be in there regardless. But it was just nice to see them at least. They're not having a game yesterday, so at least see Ryan Thompson. And I don't know if you loaded in his Baseball Savant page at all, but Ryan Thompson is disgusting.
I did. This is nasty.
It is absolutely gross, like what he's doing with the baseball. Thank you very much, Tampa Bay, for letting him go. Like if we ever had an issue where Ginkel or Sewald wasn't there, Ryan Thompson has 100% earned his, or has won his case on deserving to be a closer, or at least somewhat of a, an eighth inning guy if we ever need him for there, because he's genuinely so good. So it was nice to see him get some work in. Like you're talking about, if he gets
13 games, 1.32 ERA with a 0.8 WHIP.
Yeah, disgusting.
AKA, he don't let guys get on.
No. And then Justin Martinez, I know we're talking about him. It's going to suck that he'll probably get sent down. But just seeing him go from, being wild on, I believe, Friday. Wild where, kind of all over the place, got roughed up a little bit too. He was just really efficient today, kept everything in the zone. I keep forgetting that he throws 2 pitches at 100 miles an hour, not just one. Is insane that they're talking on the broadcast. The fact that you can throw a pitch at 100 miles an hour and it still moves like a sinker, don't understand how you do it. It was good to see them, sneak a win away from the Padres, especially because, again, don't get me wrong, there was a big lead. There was not a single moment up until at least even the 8th inning where I was fully comfortable with where the game was at, just because we know our woes and our luck and the bullpen issues this year. So I was still, keeping my fingers crossed that it was adding on more, but they got the job done regardless. So I can't really ask for much more than that.
I didn't get calm until Ryan Thompson came in the 8th. That is when I was like, okay, I think we're good here, because Thompson and Ginkel for sure for me is the A bullpen. Mantiply, it just depends on how he's been recently. So sometimes he is good. So apparently Corbin's hitting 129 since he got moved to 7th.
Yeah, I looked it up. He got moved down on Wednesday against the Cardinals. April 24th was because he got a day off on the Tuesday game against the Cardinals. Came back in on Wednesday. Torrey dropped him down to 8th. Ever since then, he's had 35 plate appearances, 31 at-bats, 4 hits, 3 singles, a double, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, hitting 129.
It might just be the eye test for me then.
His at-bats have definitely – that's the weird thing, is because there are at-bats where he still works the count, still has, really good pitch recognition. But then there's ones that we saw this weekend. Again, it doesn't help with the umpires calling high pitches on him. So if he's going to call it high, you got to attack some of the high pitches. So if they go high and they go even higher, with that mixed in with Corbin's swing issues lately, it's, we saw still some at bats that we want to see some improvement. But I think today was at least a really good sign of, him going the other way on that single in the first, him pulling that 109 mile an hour single late in the game. And then we don't have a video of it, but that warning track flyout going left field, that was a really good swing going the other way, staying down on it. It just barely missed it, to where positive things like that. I know the numbers aren't showing that he's hitting better since then, but I feel good about at least the progress that Corbin's been making and the track record that he's on so far.
Yeah, I mean, now we're going to Cincinnati. Sorry, he had 3 or 4 hits this series that probably would be home runs in Cincinnati too, but just because of how deep Chase Field is, they just 420-foot bombs and nothing there. They're just died at the warning track. So I'm excited to see what he can do in Cincinnati when he can maybe lift the ball a little bit more, so he can feel a little bit maybe more confident that he's actually out of it, even though it's a little baby park, but still, home run's a home run.
So what's funny, Jock's home run in every ballpark, but Fenway, which I was like, are we sure? Because I feel like that would have been a home run at Fenway. I guess it was too far off the line, so maybe it would have been like right on the track.
So Corbin's flyout from today would have been a home run in Boston, Houston, Philadelphia, and San Diego, funny enough. And I'm looking up his ones from the other 2 games, so you can give me a minute on that. But yeah, that's actually kind of funny. I was kind of there with you, Gabe. I figured at least the one that he hit today would have gone out in Cincinnati.
So yeah, Cattell's home run, Jackson Merrill's home run was a home run in every ballpark. So Chris, I guess Waldron.
I was going to say, honestly, I was just going to wrap today by saying you guys got to experience the Matt Waldron experience, which I've been saying it for weeks, and he is not a starter in an MLB like rotation. He is a great long reliever, spot starter, but just the way his pitches are, he doesn't have enough speed to catch people off, because I think his fastball, he can get up to mid-90s, but it'll sit low 90s typically. And if you're trying to pair that knuckleball and you can't, and you're missing your spots, like you see what happens there. And I mean, you guys said it, but credit to your bullpen today. Like, it felt like through the first 2 innings, I'm like, oh, this might be a track meet. Like, we're scoring runs on both ends, but the bullpen came in and completely shut down the Padres late. But yeah, it's just, for me personally, like, I just do not need to see Matt Waldron pitch. It's just, we're in a tough situation now, especially with Joe Musgrove going to the IL, where we have another starting pitcher that we're down now. So there's really no other pieces, because we've spent so much trading prospects left and right, where there's not really any arms that we can trust in AAA right now. So just I know every time Waldron pitches, it's going to be a game that I might just turn off in the 3rd inning. And his next start is against the Dodgers, so I'm sure that will be a true fun day. But yeah,
if he gets a knuckleball,
it's rough watching Waldron pitch, and you know, he had the one good start in Colorado, but the last couple he's just gotten lit up like a tree.
So what you're saying is use code whatever insert here on FanDuel right now and use that deposit to throw the money line on the Dodgers for that Matt Waldron game.
If Waldron's pitching, just hit the Dodgers. Yes, just mash them.
Yeah. So, but no, just glad that we avoided the sweep. 2nd straight weekend series that we win the finale. So, yeah, I want this offense to be more consistent. Like, it's very frustrating to watch, where we see what we saw the first 2 games where they don't do anything, and then we saw today they're like, oh, we know how to hit. Like, I'm like, just do it consistently. Like, instead of scoring 11, score 4. I don't care. Just make it look like you're an actual offense, because I don't want to go pay money to go see a team 5 runs, 5 hits, 1 run in a 9-inning game. I just don't want to see it.
Well, honestly, like, I find your team very fascinating, because obviously, you know, you've got this young nucleus, and the bar kind of got pushed really high last year with the playoff run. So this year, you're clearly seeing a lot of teams come in and bring in their best, because you are the defending NL champ. So it's like there's a statement, especially with the Dodgers, who probably feel a little slighted that they crapped the bed last year, which, thank you guys for that. That was very enjoyable. But, you know, it's like, it's very interesting to watch the dynamic of this team, because they are so young. Like, you're going to get those best punches game in and game out. So I'm sure, like, these early struggles, they'll figure themselves out, and I know a run's going to happen, but I'm fascinated to see what your team does the rest of the year.
Yeah, so let's just move on and preview our next series, which we're going to Cincinnati to play the Reds. Ellie has been unworldly to start the season. If that's a word, he's so insane. But our matchups are Gallon versus Montes, Montgomery versus Ashcraft, and Ciccone versus Green. So yeah, and then roster wise, Spencer Steer's really good. We know what Ellie does. They're basically without who I thought was their best rookie last year, and Matt McClain. Like I'm pretty sure he's out for the season. I think he's currently on the 60-day.
They might get him back like in August, I believe, is what they're hopeful for.
Okay,
Maybe like
so
September.
Ellie has 19 stolen bases.
Oh my God.
8 home runs. I'm trying to find out how many strikeouts he has because we know that's a big one for him. So let's see. He's at 45 strikeouts and 118 at bats.
That's not bad. I mean, that's still no. Actually, he's still in the 10th percentile of strikeouts, so he's still pretty heavily striking out.
As Elizabeth says, Smelly De La Cruz.
Smelly De La Cruz.
That is very true. I'm worried about Gallon just because he pretty much was out for a week and a half. So I'm hoping the hamstring, like they were just being like super overly cautious. Because it's still early, like we don't need to rush him. But I'm like, we also have a lot of pitching injuries right now. So just hope that he comes in and he shoves. Like I would love a 7-inning masterclass by Zach Gallen on Tuesday. Like that would put a lot of my anxiousness about this team. It would really calm it down. But tomorrow, I think, is a big day in terms of moves. Like, are we going to find out that Alec and Seawald are joining the team? I think it's obvious who they send down if Alec is activated. It's incredibly obvious, but I'm also pushing an agenda that I don't like Pavin Smith.
I mean, you can't send. I'll still say it. Like, you're not sending Corbin Carroll down. Like,
no, you're not.
You're not, and like you're not sending Jake McCarthy down with how he's hitting. You can't do anything with Josh.
He had 3 hits today. Of course not.
Like, there's no reason. Like, there's one person, and I guess the only reason why it puts a issue with the whole Pavin Smith thing is just because he can play first base. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't care. I don't care. Like. Pavin Smith is not, you've said before, is not deserving of more playing time on this roster. Like, I'm sorry. It's just.
We've had so many off days, like just non-games. Christian doesn't need someone to play in his stead. It's not like he's playing like Corbin right now. Christian is playing very, very well. So Christian is just one of those guys that you need to pencil in. Now, when we go on those streaks of like 20 plus days of just game after game after game, yeah, I can understand, but we have not had that this season. So Christian should be playing every day. I do not want to see, even though we've seen it a few times, Pavin Smith at first base when the lineup is announced. So that kind of, I'm like, oh, Tori. Like, I want Pavin Smith to be involved in any trade package that we potentially do for a bullpen arm.
I don't even mind, not even for a bullpen arm. If it's a trade package with, 4 Peaks to get, a year supply of kegs, like just for free, I don't even mind. Something good, some benefit for a trade is all I want from Pavin Smith. That's all I care about. Throw him in a package with some other minor prospects and hit up the A's and be like, hey guys, so Mason Miller, what's it gonna take?
He's so good.
He's so nasty.
He's so good.
One quick thing, because Chris brought it up in our side chat here. Thankfully, we're missing Lodolo in this upcoming series against the Reds because he's really nasty. But personally, the one guy on the Reds that I know he has hit or miss games. Hunter Green. The D-backs usually have a problem with flamethrowers. Just historically, we saw what Yamamoto did. I know Green's
4 Peaks.
Yeah, true. Maybe make it worth some Coors kegs. But Hunter Green throws gas, and if he's on and he's able to mix his fastball with his off speed, it's a little bit of the worrisome game I am looking at as far as like pitching wise matched up against the D-backs lineup. But at least the rest of it, shouldn't hopefully be as worrisome. I mean, Ashcraft is good too. He's a good lefty. Oh, sorry, he's a good righty, not lefty. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Gabe, what are your, I guess, prelim thoughts on this series?
I think it's a good matchup. It's a good litmus test because I feel like they're both evenly matched at this point. I feel like the D-backs should be, like on paper, the D-backs are a lot better than the Reds are right now. But, the Reds can rattle off a few wins. They've come back down to earth from where they started earlier. But I feel like they should, I say this every freaking week at this point. I feel like they should be able to take the series. I don't see why not. Obviously, we'll see.
That was the last three.
I said it since like the Rocky series and opening day. Like they should be able to take these series. They just haven't been able to for whatever reason. Whether it's the bullpen, and I tweeted out that meme with the the Derp Ghidorah faces. It's the bullpen, it's the offense, and it's the pitching. Either one of them is working, or none of them are working at this point. So. Again, they should be able to. Hopefully, we can get Alec back. Hopefully, we can get Seawald back. Have this team look proper, especially because there's a lot of fans and people online who are saying, "Oh, well, it's the injuries. It's the injuries. That's why they're doing so bad." And it's like, man. I mean, Perdomo and Alec.
It's not gonna be like a flip of the switch.
I love them to death, but combined, they combine for career 225 average together. Like it's not like you're getting Mookie Betts back in his lineup.
It's the vibes. It's the vibes.
It's the vibes.
It's the vibes. The defense. Like they will be an upgrade from what we have currently right now. But I feel like a lot of this will show Hazen. Okay, look, if this team still continues to where they're going right now, currently. Even when they get Perdomo and Alec back and Seawald, at least he would know, okay, these are the moves I have to make. I can't no longer rely on the fact that they're injured or that we have injuries to say, oh, well, at the deadline, we acquired Merrill Kelly, we acquired Alec Thomas, we acquired Perdomo, and then, just sit back and not do anything. So hopefully when they come back, we can see what this team is. Are they the guys who are getting blown out every single game? Are they the, answer bags put up 20 runs a game and then, 0-0-0? Or are they, an actual 5 runs a game team? And then, hopefully they become who they were early last year and to a certain extent later in that year too.
So, Chris, what are your final thoughts on how the Padres have played up to this point throughout the season?
I mean, the one thing, and I know I've talked about this with you offline before, is the one thing with the Padres going into the season, I could have made an argument for them to win 72 games or 87 games. And anything in between would not shock me. And this team is doing exactly that this year. They're one game under 500. They lost 4 in a row. They won 3 in a row, and then they lost the last game in the series. But I feel like it's just going to be this roller coaster. And until they can get middle relief is fine right now, but it's not really where they need to be. But we need one more starting pitcher. And I truly think, and I think I told you this before too, but with getting the Arise deal, I think Kim's getting packaged for a pitcher before the All-Star break. He is the odd man out in this situation. I love Ha-Seong Kim. I think he's a fantastic player, but you look at the contracts. 208. You look at the contracts that are locked up in that infield right now, and it's like Cronenworth's not going anywhere. Xander, as awful as that contract was, and I mean, I could talk for 30 minutes about how much I hate that contract, but we won't. But and obviously with Manny, and so there's so many pieces there where I think that's the next step for the Padres is to get that other starting pitcher, and let's hope Joe's injury is not bad, and he can get back eventually and get back to form because he struggled a lot this year. But this is going to be a 500 team that loses a bunch of games and wins a bunch of games, and they're just going to be on this roller coaster all year. So it's just a matter if they can get hot for 2 weeks, because I truly feel like in baseball, if you hover around 500, you just need that one really good win streak in August or September, and then it's game on.
Yeah, I don't doubt that whatsoever. So hopefully, with potential, I think I believe Seawald is coming back for Tuesday. Alec, I don't know. And then they also said this week they're doing another imaging with Erod to see where he's at and to see what their next steps are. So hopefully we get some news on that over the next couple of days. Maybe he's not too far away because we know Merrill's gone for a while, which is I think a huge loss. But at least he's still with the team, so he can still coach up with Ryan and Fott. So want to thank everyone for tuning in. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. All of our socials are in the description box below, so make sure to give us all a follow. We all would really appreciate it. Hopefully this starts a win streak for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We will see y'all next time.